Hare Krishna, Priyanka devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Shri Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we are reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, text 155. When Sri Narsimananda Brahmachari heard that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan, he became very pleased and mentally began decorating the way there. Text 156. First, Narsimananda Brahmachari contemplated a broad road stating from the city of Kulia. He bedecked the road with the jewels, upon which he then laid a bed of stemless flowers. Text 157. He mentally decorated both sides of the road with Paktula flower trees, and at intervals on both sides, he placed lakes of the transcendental nature. Text 158. These lakes had bathing places constructed with jewels, and they were filled with the blossoming lotus flowers. There were various birds creeping, and the water was exactly like nectar. Text 159. The entire road were surcharged with many cool breezes, which carried the fragrance from the various flowers. He carried the constructions of these roads as far as Kanai Natanasala. Natasala. Text 160. Within the mind of Narsimananda Brahmachari, the road could not be constructed beyond Kanai Natasala. He could not understand why the road's construction could not be completed, and thus he was astonished. Text 166, 161. With great assurance, he then told the devotees that Lord Chaitanya would not go to Vrindavan at that time. Text 162. Narsimananda Brahmachari said, the Lord will go to Kanai, Natasala, and then will return. All of you will come to know of this later, but I now say this with great assurance. Text 163. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to proceed from Kulia towards Vrindavan, thousands of men were with him, and all of them were devotees. Text 164. Wherever the Lord visited, crowded of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. Text 165. Wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in that road. Text 166. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually arrived at the village named Ramakeli. The village is situated on the border of Bengal and is very exquisite. Text 167. While performing Sankirtan in Ramakeli Grama, the Lord danced and sometimes lost consciousness due to love of God. While at Ramakeli Grama, an ultimate number of people came to see his lotus feet. Text 168. When the Muslim king of Bengal heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu influence in attracting innumerable people, he became very much astonished and began to speak as follows. Text 169. Such a person who is followed by so many people without giving them charity must be a prophet. I can surely understand this fact. Text 170. The Muslim king ordered the magistrate, do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy. Let him do his own will wherever he likes. Text 171. When the Muslim king asked him as assistant Keshava Chatri for news of the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Keshava Chatri, although knowing everything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tried to avoid the conversation but not give any importance to Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu activities. Text 172. Keshava Chatri informed the Muslim king that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant touring different places of pilgrimage, and thus, as such, only a few people came to see him. Text 173. Keshava Chatri said, out of the jealousy, your Muslim servant plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him, for, for there is no profit in it. Rather, there is a simple loss. Text 174. After pacifying the king in this way, Keshava Chatri sent the Brahmana message to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requesting him to leave without delay. Text 175. In private, the king inquired from the Dirbhakasha, Srila Rupa Goswami, who began to speak about the glories of the Lord. Text 176. Sri Rupa Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gave you the kingdom and whom you accept as a prophet, has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. Text 177. The prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere. Text 178. Why are you questioning me? Better that you question your own mind, because you are the king of the people. You are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you can understand this better than I. Text 179. Thus, Srila Rupa Goswami informed the king about his mind has a way of knowing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He assured the king that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence. Text 180. The king replied, I consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhya. So it's a nice, it's a very short section, not too much involved section today. So good thing is in the overall section where we are, remember Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has three broad sections, Adi Lila, Madhya Lila and Antya Lila. So we completed Adi Lila, we are in Madhya Lila, first chapter. So remember Madhya Lila and Antya Lila together also called Shesha Lila. These are primarily focused on second half of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. That means Lord Chaitanya lived for about 24 years before sannyas and then 24 years after sannyas. So before sannyas 24 years, that is primarily in the Adlila. And then after 24 years, second half of his 24 years of Lila is Shesha Lila we discussed in the beginning of this chapter. And that has 6 years in Madhya Lila and the rest 18 years in the Antya Lila. So even though it's 6 years only in Madhya Lila, that has many books actually. So that will cover like, I believe, 5 books, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 5 books, I think. So that Madhya Lila, majority portion is in Madhya Lila for 6 years, where Lord Chaitanya did the preaching and associated with his associates like that. So in this Madhya Lila first chapter, we are basically getting a summary of the entire Madhya Lila and also the summary of entire Antya Lila, just in the first 2 chapters of this Madhya Lila. So now in the first chapter itself, we initially heard about glorification of Chaitanya Bhagavat and Vrindavan Das Thakur, and then preaching of Lord Chaitanya's associates like Nityananda Prabhu and Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami. That was the beginning of this chapter. And then we heard how Lord Chaitanya's mode of absorption it was similar to the ecstasy of gopis. He was experiencing Radharani's mood like that we were discussing. And then from 91st verse onwards, Madhya Lila's synopsis is being described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Within this Madhya Lila synopsis, so this is interesting. When you see, I'm looking at Chaitanya Subodhini from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. This is interesting because when you have the broad, big picture, sometimes it helps us to understand the subject matter well, but it's not the most important thing, even if you don't have a big picture. Sometimes we can learn the lessons that we are learning from each verse also, that's absolutely okay. But for some of the devotees, it helps to have the broader picture. So the way he described Darshan Prabhu described broader picture is Madhya Lila. Basically, first set of verses are talking about Lord Chaitanya's first attempt to go to Vrindavan. Then we heard how he went to Santipur and spent some time honoring his mother's cooking in Advaitacharya's home like that. And then his journey to Jagannath Puri we discussed, and his meeting of Sarvam Bhattacharya briefly, and the South Indian tour, and some pastimes in Puri, Jagannath Puri were discussed. And then now, just now, recently from 146 verse, Lord Chaitanya's second attempt to go to Vrindavan is given. So within that, he went to Vidyanagara, one place, and then next starts Narasimhananda Brahmachari's pastime is coming up now. That is where we started this today. So Lord Chaitanya is Supreme Lord himself, but apparently he could not go to Vrindavan as soon as he wanted. At least in the Chaitanya Lila, he exhibited like that. So first time he could not go, Nityananda Prabhu diverted him to Santipur, to Advaitacharya's place like that. Second attempt, now he's trying to go. What will happen, we'll find out. And the third attempt, he finally makes it. We'll find out that. That's also in the Madhya Lila. These are all detailed sections coming up later on, but we're getting a synopsis now. Now in the Lord Chaitanya's attempt for a second go to Vrindavan, what is happening, we're saying. So when Narasimhananda Brahmachari is another devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. What did he do? How did he serve mentally? That's what is being described from 155 to 162. That's what is being described. So basically, when Narasimhananda Brahmachari heard that Lord Chaitanya is going to Vrindavan, what did he do? Because he could not physically serve at least. So what he did is, he was serving mentally, meaning within his mind, he decorated the way going to Vrindavan like that, so that Lord Chaitanya will have a comfortable walking to Vrindavan, a very enjoyable atmosphere, environment for him to walk through like that. So how he did that is next few verses are describing. Basically, he contemplated a broad road starting from the city of Kulia, where Lord Chaitanya was planned to go from, and then the road is bedecked with jewels, and then he put a bed of stemless flowers. All this is in the mind of Narasimhananda Brahmachari. But there are few purports. By the way, this section has very few purports again, because all synopsis of the whole Madhya Lila, right? Details will come later on. So, and then he decorated both sides of the road mentally with buffalo flower trees, it seems, and he placed lakes of transcendental nature on both sides of the roads like that. And then he in the lakes he had bathing places. Bathing places are called ghats sometimes, like sometimes Jagai Madai Ghat, there is one in Mayapur like that. He constructed that ghats to take bath with jewels, it seems, and they were filled with those lakes were filled with blossoming lotus flowers, and there are nice birds who were chirping with nice sounds, and the water was exactly like nectar. All this is serving in the mind only. So, and the road was such as with cool breezes, and the fragrances of from various flowers was there in the air, in the wind, and he carried the construction of road all the way till Kana and Arsala. So, purport indicates the Kana and Arsala is about 200 miles from Calcutta, it seems. And then within the mind, Narasimhananda Brahmachari, he saw that the road cannot be constructed within the mind also beyond this place, Kana and Arsala. So he initially could not understand why he could not complete the road. So he was initially astonished, like that is described here. But in the next verse is described he understood that Lord Chaitanya would not go to Vrindavan at this time. That means he will only go up to Karnataka and come back. That's what his conclusion was from that experience he had. So this is the verse that has first purport for today's section, where Sri Prabhupada is indicating that Narasimhananda Brahmachari was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why he was trying to serve at least mentally in this way. And Prabhupada makes a point that for a pure devotee, serving the Lord, whether physically or mentally, are both considered from Krishna's point of view same. That means because Krishna is Bhavagrahi, so he is accepting the sentiment and love and devotion of the devotee. So, for example, physically doing is materially engaging gross matter, right? But mentally doing it is the mind, which is the subtle matter, like the Prabhupada is indicating. So both are using matter to serve Krishna. So Krishna is pleased by seeing the intentions and love and devotion of devotees like that. So see the merciful nature of Krishna. You just don't have to go anywhere. You just need to think that I want to serve like that. So this actually sometimes inspires us. I was sharing some time ago also on this one. One application of this is getting inspired how Krishna is so merciful that even if you do little service, even if you do mentally, even if you're desiring to serve, then he's so pleased like that. That's one aspiration. Second aspect is when we are physically not able to serve for some reason for a short time. For example, we're in a flight for Mangalarti time, or we're in a train for Mangalarti time, like that. We can close our eyes and mentally perform, taking shower, gathering, putting tilak, gathering flowers for their deity worship, and going before deities, waking them up, completing achman, waking them up, and like that, whatever morning routine we all do, right? So that we could do, and including single morning Mangalati also, we could do all that mentally. Or if nobody is there, we could do with whispering voice also. But if somebody is there, it's okay, we can do mentally also. So this is another reason why devotional service is told that there's no material obstacle for performing devotional service. This, when you hear this, then it is easy to understand why the statements are there like that. Sometimes we think, oh, I cannot do this because my wife is like this, my husband is like this, my children are like that, my parents are like this, my family members are like this, my neighbors are like this. So many reasons we come up with. But devotional service you can do in any time. Of course, we may not be able to do exactly how we aspire to do, how we really want to do all the time like that. So we may be able to have to do some compromises sometimes to serve Krishna in a different way like that. So that's also another thing we can take inspiration from this section. So, and also I like the last sentence of this purport where the last paragraph where Prabhupada talks about a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about ahetuki apratigata bhakti, the unconditional devotional service. The basically that was Savai Pumsa Paradharma, Edo Bhakti, that verse, right? Basically, it mainly talks about when we do uninterrupted devotion service and when we do devotion service without any motivation, then it satisfies the soul fully, like that it describes. But the part I liked is Prabhupada is giving another angle to that verse also. What is he saying? This is a long sentence, last sentence, not long sentence, last sentence. If there's no ulterior motive, devotion service cannot be checked by any material condition. So normally we hear that verse saying that we should do without stopping devotion service, we should do with selfless devotion service. Then we'll be satisfied. That's what we hear. But now Prabhupada is saying how those two are interlinked. That means when we're doing devotion service without any motivation of personally enjoying something, then the devotion service cannot be checked by any material condition also. Like that he's saying. That was an interesting portion I liked from Prabhupada purport. So now going to next verse, 162. So whatever he understood, concluded, Simananda Brahmachari told other devotees also that Lord will not go, will only go up to Kanan and Shala, and then will return back. But he's saying all of you will come to know later, but I will say you with great assurance now itself like that. Then really Lord Chaitanya started to go to Vrindavan. This is second visit to Vrindavan, second attempt to go to Vrindavan. He did not go to Vrindavan yet. This is second attempt. From Kulia he started, and this is important because this will come up in after some 50 verses or something. Thousands of men are with him, it seems, going to Vrindavan. Later on, later on, when he meets Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami recommends not to go with so many followers to Vrindavan. In that context, this becomes important later on. Then all of those people who are following were devotees, it seems. Now, when Lord Chaitanya visited, uh, so many people came to see him, it seems. And not only they saw him, but when they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. That is the glory of the Supreme Lord. Even by taking darshan of Supreme Lord, our unhappiness and lamentation can disappear. This is true for the Supreme Lord when he is personally present, in his personal form here, or even the deity form also. When we have the right consciousness while taking darshan of the deities, we can be definitely lifted up. Our consciousness can be lifted up and we can be happy. Now, next verse is described when Lord Chaitanya touched the ground with his lotus feet. People wanted to take the dust of the lotus feet. Means the area he touched the ground, they used to come and gather that dirt itself because the lotus feet has touched the ground like that. So that way they created many holes also in the ground. It road, it seems like that. It is the eagerness of the people for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And we can learn from that eagerness. Eagerness is one of the most important qualities in devotion service. We'll also learn this from Nectar of Devotion study also. Eagerness is one of the essential qualities. That way we can receive the right way, the mercy that is coming into our life through bhakti, through sadhus, through scriptures, through spiritual master, in different ways. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at a village by name Ramakeli. This is situated on the border of Bengal, it seems, and is very exquisite. Exquisite means very beautiful. Then you see the purport. Yeah, the purport here is that Ramakeli is the same place where Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were residing in that village, it seems. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went for them only, actually, in this direction. Normally, the geographical route doesn't directly go there. If he wants to go from Kudiagram to Vrindavan, the direct route is not through this. But he made this route so that he can meet Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So next verse. So next set of verses today are all happening in Ramakeli. Okay, that is the next set of verses today. So now he was performing Sankirtan in Ramakeli Grama, it seems, that village. Then he danced and sometimes even lost the consciousness due to his Krishna Prema, his ecstasies. And so many people came to see his lotus feet at that time also in Ramakeli, it seems. Then from this verse onwards, how the Muslim king was trying to find about Lord Chaitanya. What did he think about Lord Chaitanya? How did he conclude that he is Supreme Lord? That's what is being described for the rest of the verses for today. So remember, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were working for a Muslim king. So that is the king. The king is being described here. His name was Nawab Hussain Shah Badshah. Nawab Hussain Shah Badshah, it seems his name, Badshah. So that's described in this first purport, only one line purport. So basically, this Muslim king, Nawab Hussain Shah, when he heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in attracting so many people, he became very much astonished, surprised, and he began to speak as follows. What does he say? This, remember, Muslim king is saying, he is appreciating Lord Chaitanya's influence. Such a person who is followed by so many people without giving them charity must be a prophet. Why? Because sometimes people get followers when they give so many things. There is money or some opulence that they have. Then people can follow. But if he's not giving anything, but still people are following, that means he must be a prophet. That is his conclusion. I can surely understand this fact like that. So that with that understanding, the Muslim king ordered the magistrate, saying, "Do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy. Let him do his own will wherever he likes." Basically, he told the magistrate, "Don't disturb Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whatever he wants to do, let him do. He's a great prophet," like that. So we later hear in Madhya pastime why he's telling like this. In the coming verses also we'll hear that looks like this magistrate has some evil intentions to disturb Lord Chaitanya. But we don't have purport here, not much description here. Oh, there's brief purport, but it only talks about Lord Chaitanya's translator position was understood by Muslim king. That's why he ordered like that. Okay, now 171 verse. Today we're reading till 180, I think. Yeah. Okay. So then this Muslim king, Nawab Hussain Shah, has a conversation with Keshav Chatri, his secretary, assistant, and then later on with Rupa Goswami. That's the next set of verses coming up for today. So first he talks to the assistant Keshav Chatri in these verses. How many? These 4 verses basically. Basically, this assistant uh, he asked him about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influences. But Keshav Chatri, knowing that this Muslim king is really evil, so he did not want to glorify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he told about Lord Chaitanya as if like he's a common person, nothing great about him like that. That is what is being described in the next few verses. Basically says, even though Keshav Chatri knows everything, he tries to avoid the conversation by not giving so much importance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. So what does he say? He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant, touring different places of pilgrimage, and only a few people came to see him like that. Actual reality is, so many people come to see him like that, actual reality. But it downplayed it basically, so that Lord Chaitanya is not disturbed by this Muslim king. And he also told, this is where we can learn about a little bit about the magistrate. Out of jealousy, your Muslim servant plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him. For there's no profit in it. Rather, there's simply loss. Just spending time thinking about him is not much profit, is saying. Then like that, Kesavachari told king like that, but he sent a Brahmana messenger secretly to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting him to leave without delay from the Ramkali Gram. So that way this Muslim king doesn't change mind and do something like that. But however, this king is intelligent. In private, this king inquired from Dabir Kasa, his other name of Sri Rupa Goswami. What did he say? He asked him also a similar question. Then Rupa Goswami did hide like the Keshav Chatri. He glorified left and right Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told him, the Supreme Lord, Supreme Person of Godhead, who gave you this kingdom and who you accept as a prophet, has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. He's directly telling him that is Supreme Lord. And he says, this prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you'll get victory like that. Because this Muslim king was always after victory. He was going conquering people, while Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were taking care of the government affairs. Then he says, why are you questioning me? Better that you question your own mind. Because you are the king, you are the representative of Supreme Lord. Therefore, you can understand this better than I. Remember, that king already got the idea in his mind that this person is not ordinary like that, right? That's what Rupa Goswami is also saying. So Rupa Goswami told him, he assured that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence. Because Rupa Goswami understood. This guy understood that he is somewhat extraordinary like that. That's why he's telling him, take whatever you understood in the mind as evidence. And the king replies, really, this Muslim king, I consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the Supreme Person of Godhead. There's no doubt about it. See, this is the greatness of Lord Chaitanya. Even a Muslim king who was not a devotee happened to understand Lord Krishna's position in this particular circumstance. So, as Paramatma, Krishna gave the intelligence to this personality also, like that Prabhupada writes in the purport. Next verse purport he writes like that. So this, but also we need to remember, scriptures also talk about how we cannot understand Krishna without devotion service also. But this king did not do much devotion service. But it is only extraordinary mercy, exceptional situation, not a common situation, not a regular situation. Like that also we need to understand simultaneously. On one hand is able to understand, one hand we should understand. That's not a general principle. General principle is only through devotion one can understand Krishna a little bit also. So we'll pause there. Continue next session. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kupasindubhya Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.